Welcome back, everyone, to another Company of Heroes Steel Division replaycast. And why is there no music? Okay, finally. So we have a 2v2 on Colville uploaded, I'm guessing, by one of these four players, Steel Division replays, and the players are Brother Pedro playing as the 21st Panzer, V86, many numbers playing as the 1st Fallschirmjäger. Lots of infantry going to be coming out. Then Major Hansman playing as the 3rd Armored, and Ikaramets playing as the 101st. 101st Airborne and 3rd Fallschirmjäger are going to mirror each other, while the 3rd Armor and the 21st Panzer don't really quite do that. 21st Panzer really, compared to the 3rd Armored, likes its specialized units. It's very nice anti-tanks, which we already see one of them coming out. 13 armor penetration in Phase A is, of course, pretty much enough to destroy any allied armor that might be coming out in Phase A, whereas the 3rd armor just really likes its general purpose good vehicles. We already see an M4A1 coming out of Hansman in Phase A, plus an AT gun, which is going to help keep the early armor that the 21st Panzer can call out at bay. In fact, we do see a Panzer L6 for, actually that's V86. And Brother Pedro is instead going for yet more ATs and a few, actually 20mm half-tracks. I'm pretty sure that these are. Yep, indeed. Autocannon half-tracks coming out. Of course, very strong, very strong, especially against light vehicles and infantry, and a fair few, probably Panzer Grenadiers for him. So, of course, both sides are trying to get a bit of control over the town, and the 101st Airborne should have the advantage there, but unfortunately for the 101st Airborne, Iker is making a huge mistake. He's not using the move fast command to get to his positions before the enemy, so his enemy is actually going to be much faster. If we take a look at the speed of these units, we can see that the Kübelwagen has 88 kilometers on the roads and only 20 kilometers an hour off-road. Pretty much just like the Jeep. The Jeep, if going on road, would be slightly faster than the Kübelwagen. The WC-25 would have a similar speed, but both of them pretty much pale in their speed when they're going off-road, which means that Brother Pedro is going to be able to rush in and be able to capture a lot more territory than his opponent. In the meantime, on the left side, we have the 3rd Armored player, of course, Major Hansman, with the half-tracks. Lots of half-tracks. The problem is they're all pinned basically in one little location. You can see that the American infantry has been completely pinned down without any cover. They're going to try to retreat, and they should do that, but the problem is there's basically nothing that now they can do. The Germans can grab a lot of territory pretty easily. Here comes a Thunderbolt. No, that's actually a Mustang with some light bombs. Forces away the Panzer L6, but the Panzer L6 wasn't really the main threat anyway. The main threat was the German infantry, which was also forced to retreat by the bombing strike, which is very lucky for the Americans. In the meantime, in the center, we only have an AT gun for the Americans that the Germans pretty much earnestly pinged. So very good job from Brother Pedro signaling his ally that he spotted an enemy unit in that vicinity, so that his ally can direct some fire of some kind against the AT gun, / be warned of its existence and not just run into it. In fact, we see that the pack right now from the Germans, Brother Pedro using his pack to actually force back the M4A1, which is very good. The M4A1 has a destroyed engine, so it is pretty much going to be a sitting duck for the pack. Very good usage of that amazing Phase A unit. Only 80 points, and you can pretty much counter any allied medium vehicle with it. And before the Jumbo comes out, it's pretty much going to be the king of the battlefield in terms of AT. And we see the huge horde of light vehicles from Brother Pedro just charging through and trying to get across and capture some territory. Now, this is also really good because it has the potential to cut off these airborne infantry units that have sort of grouped up in the forest, and they're now making also a very big mistake by heading out into the open instead of attacking through the forest and into the Fallschirmjägers from V86. So things aren't really looking all that great for the allies right now, because Brother Pedro's forces have pretty much convoyed up and are now going to be pretty much unstoppable because of all the autocannons that are in this. You can see that there's two autocannon half tracks and free 222s and 223s, and actually no 222s. There's one of them. Then there's a command 222 and a 231. So that's four autocannons in one group. Very, very dangerous for any enemy infantry. And as you can see, these units were indeed surrounded. Now, they're airborne. They're meant to be surrounded. So, of course, they're going to have a little bit of an easier time dealing with the situation. But still, things could be going better for the Allies. Indeed, they are doing a little bit better. And the left side, the armored riflemen from Huntsman seem to have a bit of a opening, but they're going to get shut down by that Panzer L6. The Panzer L6, with its bugged 10 HE damage, is definitely what the Germans need right now to take out. Ooh, very, very evil. Very, very evil damage against the half-track. Kills one of them and kills the second one. Pretty much instantly demolished by the Tiny Terror of Doom. And on the right side, so Brother Pedro will find where no, that's actually V86. V86 will find out where the airborne are, and that will be pretty bad for his Fallschirmjägers, but the Fallschirmjägers can just retreat and let the other German forces deal with the situation. It looks like the airborne capturing some of these buildings might have a very interesting effect where it might cut off all the German units on the other side of this little breakthrough, and indeed, this is what will happen. Not that good for Germans. Of course, the Germans do have a lot of forces near here. Also, notice how V86 and Brother Pedro have their units intermingled with each other at key points. For example, you can see here there's Fallschirmjägers from V86, but there's also vehicles from Brother Pedro supporting the Fallschirmjägers. So this is definitely helping out the Germans in their efforts to hold the town and also to push further into other sides of the map. In the meantime, more half-track from the Germans is also dealing a little bit of damage here. I'm thinking that it destroyed a Jeep, but I'm also thinking it destroyed an AT gun. So good job using that STKFC to its effect. And now that there's no AT gun, the German vehicle horde can traverse the center quite easily and also try to make a bit of a cutoff move for the left side of the map. The left side of the map, after the death of the Sherman, courtesy of the pack, has been pretty much a stalemate. The Allies can't really push up, whereas the Germans don't really want to push up because the Germans have focused on the right side of the map. You can see in the meantime, some of the airborne have surrounded indeed to the German hordes, and the German hordes are about to completely wipe out the rest of the Americans in the town, which is of course going to let the vehicle swarm pretty much run rampant throughout the left because there's going to be no more threats to the rear. And also, these infantry units will now be able to pretty much sleep safely now that they have no Americans behind them to potentially attack them from behind and cut them off from their supply line. So overall, it seems that the Germans have pretty much this under control. There goes another Jeep. Of course, very good job from Brother Pedro using his vehicle force to essentially ambush enemy units that are coming up the road to reinforce the town. Very, very good usage of those vehicles that can move around the map really, really quickly. So thanks to the speed of the vehicles and the autocannons that they bring to the fight, of course, Brother Pedro has a bit of a sort of a mobile destruction unit that is very, very potent. And it's not only helping out at the front line, it's also helping out in the rear, as you saw with the destruction of some units that were trying to reinforce. Now in the town, there seems to be a little bit of a lull. There's still a bit of a attempt of the Americans to push. They've brought up their Command Steward. Of course, Command Steward very, very strong at supporting nearby infantry and in general enemy vehicles. What they really kind of lack is artillery, I'm guessing. To attack into these towns, I always really prefer to have at least on-map artillery, if better if you have also a off-map observer unit, because that's really when you get to flatten an entire area and pin down enemy units so that then you can advance without really taking too many casualties. As you can see, even with their immensely superior forces, as opposed to 2 Fallschirmjägers and a Fallschirmjäger leader that go up to about 110 points, they have pretty much, that's going to be around 200 points worth of units, at least, pushing up against them. and they're still not really able to do all that much to make a big dent in the Allied defenses because, again, they have the defensive advantage of the heavy cover provided by the buildings. Here comes a ME-109 to do a bit of a strafing run and try to shoot down Rosie. Rosie's being called in, and Rosie's probably going to go down. Yep, very, very lucky that it managed to kill Rosie at the last possible second. Crashes right into the marshes and lakes of Colville, and there goes Major Huntsman surrendering. I'm guessing that also his ally will not be able to hold on long, and I'm not only having to guess, there's also the time bar, of course. So what could the Allies have done differently? Well, first off, before I go into that, really the Germans need to be commended for their teamwork that they managed to put up, even in such a dynamic sort of game with the front line constantly shifting pretty much all over. They managed to support each other at all times, which was quite remarkable, and of course helped immensely, leading to their victory. Plus, the fact that Berta Pedro was able to use his light vehicles extremely well, while his ally provided the backbone of infantry to actually hold the towns that, of course, in Colville are so very prominent along the flanks of the map. The Allies could have been a little bit more, of course, assertive in their usage of artillery. They didn't really bring out any artillery units. Up until now, there seems to be a Jeep with a 75mm pack howitzer that the airborne have brought out, but that's really not enough. It's too little, too late. They could have also tried to use their armor a little bit better. Once they saw that there was this unit around, the pack half-track, they should have definitely been a lot more careful with their vehicles. The 13 armor penetration of the pack S307 does have the ability to go through the frontal armor of the M4A1 Sherman in Phase A. So Huntsman should have been a lot more careful with Sherman, and he should have used the Sherman a little bit more sneakily. He should have brought it behind some houses, then try to essentially disengage from the pack, try to go around for an area where there aren't really enemy pack guns, trying to go around and flanking, and trying to use the Sherman to support his infantry wherever possible without losing it. Then, of course, there was a big mistake on the right side of the map, wherein the airborne then rushed to their point quickly enough, so they were completely overwhelmed in an area where they shouldn't have, and then they tried a bit of a flanking maneuver which failed, and that just kind of brought in the ruin of the rest. Also, bringing out that Mustang fighter for the airborne player wasn't really all that useful. I don't really ever like to bring out too many aircraft early on in the game. Of course, there's different players that have different playstyles with this, but aircraft early on are really mainly used to suppress enemy units, not to kill them. And whenever you're being forced to retreat by the enemy, you should probably worry about having actual frontline combatants rather than trying to bring out support units like aircraft to try to help out overall. Because whenever the front line is really pushing against you, you don't really want to be caught off guard. And as you can see, the enemy can just simply bring in a lot of fighters, which are cheaper than bomber aircraft, of course. And they can also pretty easily deal with them. So nothing too major. Here comes a Henschel. That's just overkill for a DD Sherman that was brought out by the airborne. Of course, there's going to be a total victory in about a minute, but the surrender is going to come in, and that's going to be the end of the Allies. Yep, so I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope you enjoyed that game. As always, I remember... Wait, what? Only 2 kills from the Armor Division. Oh, that was a bit of a poor showing. As always, I'll try to remind you, if you want your replay tested, I have the link to my email in the description. You can send me your replays, and I will do my best. So yeah, I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this replay cast. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you soon.